Harmony of the universe. Modern science now at Harvard has proven what mystics of old have always known. All substance is one, just existing in a different vibration. An example is all substance originally comes from the original form, call it star dust for lack of a name. Quantum physics has proven that everything is made up from a wave form, or come from vibrating packets of light. The difference then in all matter is that these waves are vibrating at different frequencies. Just as music, when it vibrates at a different rate, become a different note, so does matter. They have found that by changing the vibration of a substance, its molecular structure changes. Simply put, air and wood only differ by vibration, not substance. Wood vibrating at a different level is simply more dense. There is a substance that was called the third element, which joined or joins all elements. This element vibrates at the same level as oxygen and hydrogen to allow the two to combine. This is really the element or substance we speak of. For lack of a better term, we shall refer to it as stardust, or the original substance of creation. The earth also has a vibration, as does each star. All substances or matter have their own vibration. The earth has a vibration, or heartbeat of her own, and in approximately the time it took you to read this, it has beat 8 times. This earth vibration is called the Schumann resonance. In recent years, the Earth's vibration has increased from 8 to 9 milliseconds in vibration. We previously believed we were the only life in the galaxy, until recently the photos from the Mars mission have shown Egyptian-style hieroglyphics on the face of Mars. They also discovered a face or monument built on the surface. We know we were not responsible for the hieroglyphics or structure. Since we are not alone in the universe, a creator also created these beings, planets, and life forms. It has been proven in theory of light and color that there are, as Pythagorean had known, that everything has its own vibration and emitting its own frequency. Since light is the basic physical manifestation of all life, bathing in its radiance, it is highly important to realize the divine nature of this subtle substance. That which is called light is actually a rate of vibration causing certain reactions upon the optic nerve. Few realize how they are walled in by the limitations of their perception. Not only is there a great deal more to light than anyone has ever seen that we cannot register with science yet, there are also sounds that cannot be heard yet. Pythagorean theory states everything emanates its own frequency, sound, or vibration. Science has recently developed sound equipment to prove this theory is correct. They used plants in an experiment and discovered each plant was emanating a constant sound individual to each plant. The plants were in constant song in harmony, as if constantly in song to Creator. They used a noisy weed whacker to cut the plants to see what reaction the sound would have. The sound changed from harmonic to a high-pitched scream-type sounds as the plants were cut. The interesting part is this was repeated a second time with the same result. 1 week later, the same experiment, except for instead of cutting the plants, the weed whacker was turned on, and just the noise of the machine caused the plants to turn from their harmonic sound to the high-pitched tone from memory of the previous cutting of plants from the previous weeks. This scientifically proves there is more to this planet than we acknowledge with our ordinary senses. Pythagoras believed that everything that existed had a voice and that all creatures were eternally singing the praise of the Creator. Man fails to hear these divine melodies because his soul is enameled in the illusion of material existence. When he liberates himself from the bondage of the lower world with its sense limitations, the music of spheres will again be audible, as it were in the Golden Age. We are out of harmony, it is said. When with new technology, by raising or increasing the vibration of a human cells, no disease can exist in the higher vibration. They know if they were able to continue to increase the frequency or vibration, it would be possible to alter matter to the speed of light, or possibly what the ancients would call ascension. This is the same frequency or vibration as we were manifested from, and we shall return to it on our journey of evolution, as a soul evolves back to whence we came. The separation or duality is the play of life. We are born and given a body or vehicle with many attributes. We are striving for perfection, or to become one with the Creator from which we came. Until we realize this life is but an illusion filled with distractions, or just a grand play, as Shakespeare would say. We as actors are really attempting to be one with our Creator again. In our modern age, physics, science, and astronomy are now discovering the ancient theories were accurate. Even the sacred form of the spiral is seen in the formation of galaxies. We have recently discovered the universe is not stagnate, it is actually moving through space in a spiral pattern. Even the stars come out of the galaxy in a spiral formation, appearing as a white spiral. Understanding our universe and its operations are important because these same laws and operations apply to our human body and consciousness. As the ancients have said, as above so is below. All life, planets and our universe is evolving. The Earth has experienced many changes through the years. Even the magnetic poles have shifted many times, and in some cases almost overnight. Science has recently been able to verify this through the study of lava and iron pilings found in the lava. The magnetic lines around the world affect the directions of the iron pilings according to the direction of the magnetic poles at that time in history. As these magnetic lines move over time, we see the effects in our wildlife and nature. Whales and dolphins follow these magnetic lines over centuries during their migration. As these lines shift, we have witnessed whales and dolphins beaching themselves in the same location. When these lines shift, these mammals run into dry land where ocean previously had been before the magnetic lines shifted. This is why even when the whales and dolphins are unbleached, return to the shore in the same spot. According to their migration pattern, they are following a path where it was previously ocean until the lines shift, guiding them into the shore. According to the Mayan calendar, this drastic shift or weakening of the magnetic lines began to occur 520 years ago. The Mayan calendar predicts Earth changes to occur on a harmonic level around the year 2012. As the Earth continues its journey into disharmony, it is only natural for it to begin to realign itself back to a balanced state. The same is proving true for humanity, as we once again strive toward balance. Long ago, it was said to be a civilization called Lemuria that was in existence before Atlantis. That was in existence before Atlantis. Those not familiar with Atlantis or its history may read Plato's book on Atlantis Critias. Information on Lemuria was said to be a highly evolved spiritual culture. They were aware of the sinking of Lemuria long before its occurrence. As the Earth axis shifted, Lemuria was submerged and the land mass of Atlantis rose. The Lemurians fled with all the important artifacts and knowledge intact. The relocation was to Central America, Mexico, Mount Shasta, and other various parts of the world. Atlantis is said to have been a large land mass in the region of the Bermuda Triangle. One of the islands off the coast of Atlantis was said to have been named Udall. On this island, the Lemurians planned the information of 12 circles or spheres in the configuration of the Tree of Life. These were energy vortexes to begin the rain habitation of Atlantis. There are records which exist that get into depth on these various cities, such as the Mayan records. The British Museum also contains records and historical information in the Troano document. There were 2 of these vortexes, which initially were empty and did eventually become cities. The inhabitants of these 2 other cities were of a different consciousness. This would begin our journey of our spirituality going out of balance. Humanity and our consciousness is affected by group thought and behavior more than we currently understand. An example would be in a scientific research project that occurred with the Japanese monkeys. The scientists began feeding these monkeys sweet potatoes. The monkeys liked the sweet potatoes except not with dirt or sand on them. One of the female monkeys' solution was to wash off the potatoes first. Soon all the monkeys learned they too could wash the potatoes. The interesting part is once 100 monkeys began washing their potatoes, the scientists discovered after 100 all the monkeys on the whole island began doing the same thing. The next step the scientists discovered was more amazing. It seemed once critical mass was reached on the island, the monkeys on the other islands and even the mainland began washing their potatoes. Something happened through a conscious transmission, without other monkeys teaching one another. The behavior spread to other islands and mainland. A similar scientific study was then done with humans and a photo in Australia. They discovered somehow we all affect each other's consciousness. Each part of the earth is connected by a magnetic grid. The ancients knew this and built all the sacred sites on special places on these grids. On a flat map of the earth, the connection of these sites and the patterns become apparent. Just as Edgar Cayce was once ridiculed for claiming the earth's poles shifted, which science has now proven has happened. Just as Jaque Costea was ridiculed when he predicted the Mediterranean Sea would be dead by 1990, as well as he predicted the Atlantic Sea would soon follow suit if we continued in the same manner. As we witness the red tide epidemic all over the world due to pollution, we are finally realizing by eliminating our trees and rainforests slowly was destroying our ozone layer of the earth. We have exploded nuclear bombs deep into the earth thinking it has no effect. How much more can Mother Earth take, or will she stand before the earth begins to balance itself out once again? We have been battling a world where our consciousness and awareness are ever increasing while we are becoming more elaborate in our destruction. There is a reason that the once secret information of how to increase one's energy level and ability to bring about change is now becoming available to the masses. This provides us the opportunity to help in our own evolution. This is a special time in history and on our Earth. It is not a coincidence that the Earth changes and information are being released simultaneously. They say that 1 in every 4 adults, or over 44 million Americans, are part of or believe in what is being called the New Age. Due to the dawning of a new spiritual age or culture where the beliefs around God, family, children, spirit, Mother Earth, a healthy environment, good health, meditation, honesty, the revival of femininity, belief in life on other planets, and a sense of unity for all life as we are linked. The odd part of this so-called New Age is, these are actually all the oldest beliefs known to this civilization. It is an age of remembrance rather than New Age. It has been said that 13,000 years ago, we were in a different state. Since then, we have forgotten what that state was like. This is what has become to be known as the fall of mankind. Since then, we have begun to view things in polarity as black and white, good and evil. We are currently on a path to correct our DNA and return to our original, or divine state. They say after our fall mankind's Merkaba stopped spinning. The best explanation is we each have an electronic magnetic field surrounding our body. This field affects both the spirit and the body. Science has recently allowed us to photograph this etheric field. Activating our Merkaba allows us to return to our original state of consciousness, realization, and learning to live in divine love are some of the aspects needed to get in touch with our higher self, which allows us to rise above our limits. The higher self operates on a completely different level and reality. This is a part of us all that is still in touch with who we really are and our purpose here on Earth. We are still in touch with our Creator through our higher self. Our brain has created separation. Even the left side referred to as our male side and our right side referred to as our feminine side. The left side controls the right side of our body. The right side controls the left side of our body linked to our psychic and emotional aspects of our lives. The left side prevents us from seeing the unity in everything. The right side knows the truth of consciousness moving through everything. These two sides of our brain do not cooperate or usually communicate. The corpus callosum is like the network or control center where the fibers join the two hemispheres. The pineal gland also plays a large part in activating your light body or Merkaba. For many of us on this journey, the first steps were that we had to overcome past programming. This programming could have come from our parents, teachers, friends, family, environment, etc. The key is inside of us. We had a desire to pursue the truth, as our old set of beliefs did not satisfy us. We live in a waveform universe. A waveform is a pattern of energy, essentially the creative function or aspect of the universe. It has been proven scientifically the universal form of energy, which creates matter, is actually frozen packets of light which create various wave forms. These wave forms vary in frequency, which constitutes a particular matter's density. These vibrations and harmonies are similar. Any object is made up of these tiny particles, light referred to as these wave forms. All things can be viewed as wave forms. Harmonies are an aspect of sound. The Hindu Om is the symbol or sound of the universe. The particular wavelength is 7.23 centimeters. The average of all frequencies, or sounds of objects, average out to 7.23 centimeters. The true sound of Om in this dimension. This scientific discovery occurred when they were creating the microwave. They discovered that this particular frequency was emanating from everywhere. These secret societies had this information we are only now discovering through science. The same is true for music and sound in relationship to affecting our spirituality. Numbers also affect significant aspects of our spirituality according to the ancients and secret societies. Over the past 120 years, they have discovered the lost cities from the Bible. Over the past 20 years, science has discovered many of the same truths as the ancients and secret societies have taught throughout history. In the book, we will try and provide old and new discoveries. Upon the discovery of the lost cities of the Bible, they unearthed ancient clay tablets. These tablets go back in our history hundreds of thousands of years. These written records are the oldest written records we have discovered. They go back in our history in great detail. These tablets contain information about events that occurred all the way back 450,000 years. The tablets and writings date back at least 5,800 years. Our race is said to be about 200,000 to 250,000 years old. The Bible referred to a race called Nephilim. These tablets give us history of the Nephilim, and even give us history before that race. These Sumerian tablets were created at least 2,000 years before Moses. The interesting part of these tablets name Adam and Eve, including all sons and daughters. This information also includes a historical history referred to as the creation epic. Recently, they have discovered gold mines in Africa that are hundreds of thousands of years old. These mines are so deep we still do not understand the technology that was used. This discovery collaborates the information contained in these Sumerian tablets. The creation epic stems from the 7 tablets of creation. These tablets tell us about the creation of the earth. It speaks of the creation of the planets. The following accounts are thought to have been given to the Sumerians by the Nephilim. The cosmological facts of our universe that were written down 5,800 years ago agree with our recent scientific findings. The tablets perfectly explain the course of events that probably took place in our solar system. It is written as the planets were created. The planets were gravitating toward each other. There are references to their erratic orbit. It is written the sun was put to sleep in the primordial waters. Something happened to the sun to cause it to lose its creative powers to continue to create other planets. Another planet entered our solar system. This is said to have occurred due to one of the planets on our solar system's outer ring and its gravitational pull. Eventually, the force of the gravitational pull split apart this planet. Chunks of the planet tore apart, creating 4 satellites orbiting the planet. As the objects moved toward each other, they were orbiting in opposite directions. This created an immense gravitational and magnetic force. Due to the opposing gravitational forces pulling one of the satellites shifted course. This new course upset the balance of the outer planets. This large comet-like planet did not actually collide. However, the event extinguished the life force of one of the planets. One of the phenomenons of our solar system is comets. Our orbit actually makes the comets disappear hundreds of thousands of years at a time from our view. Astronomers still cannot tell us what creates comets, or even what draws them into our orbit. This comet, or large planet, became attached to our solar system. Now that it became attached to our solar system, this is now where epic of creation begins. The planet that split in half became our Earth. The other planet, as it collided, smashed to pieces, becoming our asteroid belt. This ancient epic of creation accounts for all our planets and asteroid belt. It also explains why the majority of the continents exist on one side of the Earth. The chief satellite became the Moon. These were the accepted facts of the ancient prophets and sages written 5,800 years ago. This same epic is also present in the book of Genesis. The Earth is the only known planet with such life-giving waters. This epic also appears in the Akkadian texts. As the Earth obtained its own orbit around the Sun, creating day and night, and as the Earth cooled, the vapors turned into dry land and oceans. The Mesopotamians had accurate knowledge of our planets in a time that the Chaldeans thought the Earth was the center of the universe and flat. Scientists have pondered why life on Earth has only one genetic code for all terrestrial life here on Earth. Also, why do elements that are so rare on Earth play such a key role in our biochemical reactions? The Nobel Prize winner Dr. Leslie Orgel and Francis Clark states that deliberate seeding from another planet started the chain of life on Earth. This theory explains that if Earth, which appears to have been formed 4,500,000 years ago, scientists believe simple forms of life appeared a few 100 million years ago. If life appeared of a biological nature, it was not the result of lifeless chemicals and gases. In other words, it came from somewhere else and Earth was then seeded. We have sent unmanned spacecraft to the closest planets. Outer space and these outer planets still remain out of our reach. Somehow the ancient races had texts and lists dealing with our constellation and space. We have only recently learned that these texts and lists are accurate. The ancients even counted Earth as the seventh planet. When NASA sent an unmanned spacecraft on the longest mission, NASA anticipated it would be hurled into the far reaches of space. NASA used a pictographic plaque and gave the location of Earth as the third planet from the Sun. The ancients' description of Earth as the seventh planet is accurate, yet it describes Earth as if someone was approaching it from outer space. We are the seventh planet. Someone entering our solar system would encounter Pluto first, Neptune second, Uranus third, not Earth. So the ancients described Earth accurately, coming from the outside, traveling inward, not leaving Earth, going outward. There was no way for the ancients to have known the outermost planets 5,800 years ago. This knowledge would have had to come from another source other than their own knowledge. In the Royal Library in Nineveh, there is a tablet with geometric shapes from Mesopotamia. This document or tablet gives operating instructions, including flight patterns, even when to fire rockets on final approach to Earth. This would explain the ancient need for petroleum, which is why the earliest development on Earth occurred near southern Iraq. The reason development occurred there is believed to be one of the few habitable areas with petroleum near the surface during the glacier period. As we conquer Iraq in what has been called the war over the world's richest oil fields, it seems modern and ancient interests were similar. In ancient times, the lands in Persian Gulf were not sea, but marshlands. This would explain the Greek and Egyptian recollections of divine fishermen coming ashore from the Arabian Sea. In Susa, a ceramic object was unearthed recently and dated around 3200 BC. This object not only shows flight patterns, but why they settled in these areas. As we look to Egyptian culture, we find more keys to our ancient past and to our mystical origins. Some of us were blessed enough to not have various dogmas to have to overcome as the truth unfolds. Most of us do have various dogmas to overcome, as we were raised with someone else's beliefs being passed on to us as we were raised. An example would be during Christopher Columbus's time. It was believed the world was flat. Even after Christopher Columbus proved otherwise, it took a very long period of time for people to believe or let go of their old beliefs. We are pioneers of this new age. They have only recently discovered other complete universes, when previously it was believed we were the only one. As times change through the discovery of new information, we must begin to wonder or investigate, where the ancients received information that our technology is only now allowing us to discover. The ancients had a strong belief system that utilized sacred geometry and something called gematria. Gematria assigns a numerical value for letters in various languages. Yale and Harvard have verified a sophisticated code hidden in the Bible. This has been referenced as the Bible Code. This code shows events that have recently occurred that were hidden in this Bible code written thousands of years ago. Thoth or Hermes Trismegistus thrice greatest. He was considered Thoth by the Egyptians and Hermes thrice greatest by the Greeks. He was known as the Prince of all men. Thoth, Hermes revealed to mankind writing, medicine, chemistry, law, art, astrology, music, philosophy, geography, mathematics, especially geometry, anatomy, and much more. Pythagoras in our history books say was the father of Greece and Grecian philosophy. Pythagoras says Thoth took him by the hand and taught him all geometries and natures of reality while under the Great Pyramid. The prerequisite of beauty to the philosophers of old was harmony. This was said to be the truest form of beauty. The Chinese, Hindu, Persian, Greek, Egyptian, and Israelites used instrumental music in their religious ceremonies and healing. It took Pythagoras to bring the art of music to another level by demonstrating its mathematical foundation that we currently use today. Through Pythagoras' discovery of the diatonic scale, through his studying the laws of governing consonance and dissonance, Pythagoras considered music a divine science of mathematical proportions. Numbers were a part of all harmonic proportions, as they preceded harmony due to the law which governs harmonic proportions. The theory of universal music, or everything that exists, resonates a vibration. This vibration manifests throughout all spheres in some form. A form from the highest heaven to the mundane, all have to do with pitch, tone, and octaves. The Pythagoreans and Chinese utilized music utilizing wood and string instruments as musical medicine. The body was viewed in whole as spirit, soul, and mind. Many were cured through the use of special musical compositions. Music was seen as a very important cultural foundation. Not only as a pleasure of the senses, but to enable the mind to reach a higher state. The musical instructor of Socrates was convinced that the introduction of a new and presumably enervating scale could endanger the consciousness of an entire nation. Plato agreed regarding music and its effect on one's character and nature of a nation. It is said everything in the universe has its own tone. The author of the Shakespearean play, The Merchant of Venice, writes, "There's not the smallest orb which thou beholdest, but in his motion like an angel sings." It is said when the seven heavens sing together they produce a perfect harmony which ascends, as an everlasting praise to the throne of the Creator. Pythagoras was said to be able to hear the music of the spheres. It has been said that man fails to hear these divine melodies because his soul is enmeshed in the illusion of the material world. Once we liberate ourselves, the music of the spheres will be audible, as it was in the Golden Age. In the mystery schools and even churches of old, the elements of music played a key role in the architecture of all their buildings. The buildings would have to satisfy the mathematical requirements of harmonic intervals of that likened to a musical chord until it was considered harmonic in structure. Goethe declared architecture is crystallized music. Even in the temple's special sound chambers were constructed to incorporate the principles underlying the phenomena known as vibration. Light and color each have a vibration of their own, however subtle. Light and color, through a rate of vibration, cause a reaction upon the optic nerve. When viewed under a microscope, objects magnified 50 million times greater than the naked eye can see appear. The principles of light and color by Dr. Edwin Babbitt also explain in detail these principles. The healing forces and uses of color and light, including music, are becoming rediscovered in the holistic health industry. Dr. Edwin Babbitt's drawing of the molecular workings of atom, spirals, color, and electrical forces lead to understanding of how these affect the particles which make up our atomic molecular structure. The amazing part of Dr. Babbitt's genius and discoveries was that his drawing of the atom and its function was drawn in the late 1800s. His book on the principles of light and color are still considered one of the best books ever written on the subject still today. In our modern age, we have discovered a person's aura contains various colors which indicate various aspects of what's transpiring with a person. The medical community has also begun to discover the use of Carillion photography to discover medial illnesses discovered by holes in one's etheric field or aura. The ancients have always known the importance and role light and color have played in our genetic makeup. Plato, speaking to Socrates through a memo, states an effluence of form, commensurate with sight and sensible. Theaetetus describes it as thus: let us carry out the principle which has been affirmed, that nothing is self-existent, and then we shall see that every color, white, black, and every other color arises out of the eye meeting the appropriate motion, and that what we term the substance of each color is neither the active nor the passive element, but something which passes between them and is peculiar to each percipient. Are you certain that certain colors appear to every animal as they appear to you? The schools of mystery claim the threefold light was responsible for the entire spectrum of colors. There are three primary colors from which three secondary colors are created. In a number sequence, it requires three successive numbers in any sequence to calculate a sequence. The same is true in color and all other matter, with the exception of the golden mean and hydrogen. There is a relation and correlation between color, light, and sound throughout our universe. An example of the correspondence of color and the musical scales would be, as C is at the bottom of the musical scale and made with the coarsest waves of air, so is red at the bottom of the chromatic scale, made with the coarsest waves of luminous ether. As the musical note B requires 45 vibrations of air to create the note every time. The note C at the lower end of the scale requires only 24. Extreme violet requires about 800 trillion, whereas red only requires about 450 trillion. This law continues progressively and precisely throughout the procession of the universe. In sacred geometry, the tetractys was a symbol of great importance. This symbol contained 10 dots, and all the dots represented the universe in form from the invisible casual universe to the 7 creative periods, including the threefold white light, or Trinity. The universe was viewed as the grand man, and man was the little universe. The Pythagoreans considered arithmetic to be the mother of all the mathematical sciences. The three Pythagoras that were considered to be essential to understand the universe was geometry, astronomy, and music. All three were dependent on arithmetic. Mathematics was divided into two separate parts: the multitude, which dealt with the parts of something, and the second was the magnitude, which dealt with the relative size and the density of something. The number 1 was seen as the number to represent the Creator, and unity, as the number 1 remains indivisible. In Revelation, the number to be saved is 144,000. 1 plus 4 plus 4 equals 9, and this is why the number 9 was said to represent man, according to the ancient interpretation. In the philosophy of old, everything was divisible by 3 parts. It is said to solve any problem establish the triangle, and the problem was 2/3 solved once one had determined the 3 parts. The solution would soon follow. The numbers 1 and 2 are not considered numbers in Pythagorean philosophy because they were of the super-mundane sphere. The numbers 3 and 4 is where their Pythagorean numbers began. The number 10 was considered the number of all things. If we add 1 plus 2 with 3 plus 4, we reach the number of all things 10. As the Bible code is revealed, it would seem the ancients were much more advanced, and systems are now scientifically being proven. Man was the original statute on the altar before idolatry came into religion. These statues open showing the positions of the organs, bones, muscles, nerves, etc. Each piece had its secret meaning and relation to the cosmos. The mysteries began to decay after a long period of time, and the secrets were lost to the age of idolatry. The priests eventually lost the knowledge of purpose, and man became only a symbol of a universal power, which man was only made in the image of. The science of biology is the offspring of its tenets and doctrines. The myths of old also hide a cloud of allegories in their stories. The philosophers of old realized man was the key to the riddle of life. We are the living image of the divine plan. The two parts are playing a symphony between the superior invisible world and the inferior world manifesting as the visible. The material personality is controlled by the spiritual nature of man, which is the invisible cause. The universal spirit of the all-pervading essence of God is within all. Therefore, the spirit is more than the sum of our form. These spiritual and material are said to have three centers: upper center, middle center, and lower center. The source being positioned in the center, yet above and below being more than a proximity, but referring to the distance of or from the source. The heart is said to be the most mysterious and spiritual of the organs in the human body. The link between the superior and inferior world is said to be the second center, or link, which is our brain. The third is said to be the generative system. The heart is the symbolic source of life. The brain the source which allows rational intelligence and life forms to unite. The generative system is the source which allows physical organisms to be produced. The mind bears witness to the spirit and all activities in the lower plane. It is said the light bears witness to all life, which is original source is the light. All work together, as the generative system bears witness to the mind. The heart was viewed as more than the symbol for one's emotional nature. It was viewed as the center of spiritual consciousness. The link between the brain and heart can be found in the immortal words, "As a man thinketh in his hearts, so is he." The body was viewed as the house of the individual, not the individual. Therefore, man's body was the tomb or prison of the divine principle. Only the body passes through the cycle of birth and death. The mortal universe was viewed as the unreality, and the immortal world as the reality. Death temporarily liberates us, while illumination, ascension, was the vehicle to permanent liberation. Man's body was viewed as a miniature universe where mineral, plant, and animal kingdom was evolving. This included the invisible spiritual life, which was always evolving. It was not believed that spirituality brought about rationality or righteousness, rather that rationality and righteousness all in one brought about spirituality through bringing one's lower nature into accord. One's purity would bring about illumination. The mystery's primary purpose was to allow man to be reunited with the divine source of self without physical dissolution. Long ago a great philosopher said, "It was formerly said the heavens declare the glory of God, but now they only recount the glory of Newton and Laplace." This reference to some people in the world's vanity they believe because they are blessed enough to be a part of God, that they believe they are God or the Creator. We are a part of the Creator, and we have a soul which is a part of the Creator. We may be a co-creator with the Supreme One and be a spiritual being living in a corporeal body. Just as it takes one of us to create another of our species, we are also unable to naturally manifest another life form. This is the distinction and difference between being a co-creator or the Creator. We were created by something greater than ourselves, the same something that created our universe and other galaxies. I have spent my life researching what this is and how creation came into being, including evolution, planets, man, spirituality, etc. As modern-day philosopher and artist Bob Marley said, "Man believes he is as powerful as God." I recently have encountered many individuals who believe they are God, and I believe we are part of the Supreme Being who created us. We may be made from the essence of the Supreme Creator, yet we are not our own Creator. We were created in or from the universal mind of our Creator. The difference being we have a purpose on earth. We are not just here as gods to do as we please. The fact remains dinosaurs became extinct, the flood during Noah has been proven scientifically, and the earth comes back to reclaim itself. The Creator reminds us how dependent we are when we are in a near-death experience. I personally had such an experience, and it changed my life forever. Once the reality of your mortality has faded and the closing seconds come in and the review of your life has ended, you suddenly realize a major spiritual awakening if you are blessed enough to return and did not pass on. One's life cannot help but change. Let's start with what is a human being. We are mind, body, and soul. The mind acts as the computer or controls, the body as the temple or vehicle, and the soul the direct contact to our higher power. We are directly connected to our surroundings, in this case Earth. In Earth, we have 4 primary elements. We are connected to air, metal, fire, and water. There is a saying, as above, so is below. The perfect example of this is our solar system. Our planets revolve around a central object magnetically spinning. In the exact same fashion, a cell in the body operates the same way, even though it is invisible to the human eye. As above, as is below, the same principles apply. They have been trying to clone an animal gene since 1937, and only recently have succeeded in cloning the gene with Dolly the famous sheep. The reason why now they were able to succeed was they used an electromagnetic charge to give life to the cells for the first time. That proved to be the missing link in giving life to create a living gene via cloning. The living proof is Dolly the sheep. We may be able to clone the Creator's creation via science and procreate through the union of the opposite sex. However, the miracle of birth itself should serve as reality, that we may be the vehicle of creation, but not the Creator. For the people who believe they are God and the Almighty Creator, here is the simplest way I have found for anyone to determine they are not the Almighty Creator. Get out a pen or pencil and create a being or object that you have never seen before, a completely new animal. It is impossible for the human brain to create without a frame of reference. We can combine animals, objects, etc. However, we need a frame of reference. The human mind is capable of combining or joining, but without a frame of reference, anything never before seen, the brain is unable to create. They say in the beginning the Creator was one, and to know itself became the Holy Trinity, or the Great Three. Out of these 3 all creation has stemmed. Maybe 2 rocks collided and we got our worlds, yet the development of a balanced ecosystem until humanity disrupted it is far more complex than 2 rocks colliding. The wonder and interaction of nature should serve as a good basis to start from, just as the ancients did in beginning with their search for the Creator. Past religious and spiritual cultures have been combined to create our current set of beliefs. This has occurred through a variety of different faiths being combined, through one culture conquering another, and creating a hybrid religion or faith in the wake. We shall look at some of our past beliefs. Gnostic means wisdom of knowledge. They also believed in a supreme being which positive and negative principles acted upon each other. Irenaeus made the following statement regarding Christ's cosmic sacrifice: when the uncreated, unnamed Father saw the corruption of mankind, he sent his firstborn, Novs, into the world, in the form of Christ, for redemption of all who believe in him, out of the power that the one has fabricated the world. He appeared amongst men as the man Jesus, and wrought miracles. In the Bacchic mysteries, Bacchus or Dionysos was said to have been born on December 25th of a virgin birth. He was said to have performed miracles of healing and turning water into wine. He was put to his death, and it is said he rose again. He was referred to as the Savior. The symbology is even similar to Jesus Christ's. The image of the infant from Dionysos is still used on Christmas morning in Rome. The Bacchic rites were of a high order at one time. The Orphic mysteries were celebrated several centuries before the Christian era. This was a theology of the Greeks. It was said Orpheus was the founder of theology and morales of the Greeks. It was said he was the original founder of the Grecian mythological system. The theology of this school believed in the triad, and that reintegration occurs after disintegration occurs, allowing the soul to depart from its journey into irrational nature here on earth. Socrates, born 469 B.C. 399 B.C. Socrates held that the soul existed before the body and prior to immersion therein was endowed with all knowledge. He declared philosophy the way to true happiness, and its purpose twofold: to contemplate God, to abstract the soul from the corporeal sense. Matter he defined as subject to changes, ideas, and the intellect of God. Wisdom, the sum of the virtues. Plato, born 427 B.C. 347 B.C. Plato held that the most suitable term for defining the absolute was the term one. His theory was based on because the whole precedes the parts. Diversity is dependent on unity, but unity is not dependent on diversity. You must have separation of various parts to achieve diversity, whereas all parts must come from the separation of one. Jamie Cook, author. Plato defined good as threefold in character: good in the soul expressed through the virtues, good in the body expressed through the symmetry and endurance of parts, good in the external world expressed through social position and companionship. Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz. He was responsible for terming the word monad. He believed God is the first and greatest monad. All things are conceived as consisting of single monads of varying magnitudes or aggregations of these bodies, which may exist as mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual substances. Johann Gottlieb Fichte. Fichte held that the known is merely contents of the consciousness of the knower, and that nothing can exist to the knower until it becomes part of those contents. Wilhelm von Schelling. He perceived space and time to be positive and negative respectively, and material existence the reciprocal action of these two expressions. He also believed that the absolute through self-development is according to a law or rhythm consisting of three movements. A reflective movement being the attempt of the infinite to embody itself in the finite. The next is that of subsumption, is the attempt of the absolute to return to the infinite after involvement in the finite. The last is that of reason, being the neutral point where the two former movements are blended.